Welcome back to What No One Told Us. In part one, Diego and Lloyd opened up about success, what it used to mean and what it means now. What happens when you walk away from the version of life that looks good on paper but doesn't feel true anymore. In part two, they go even deeper. This is a conversation about judgment, ego, fear, and the quiet power of choosing peace over performance.
It's like it sort of expands you as an individual. You find out a little bit more about yourself, and maybe you that feeling of sort of hollowness or unfulfillment, or is this it? Is this people might call it a midlife crisis. Well, I call it a midlife revolution. It's like if you're experiencing those things, then it's more than likely life is trying to show you that there's something else for you. What is that thing? Just be brave enough to explore. You don't have to give up your day job just yet. Just
Mm.
dive in and be open to it because there's some real treasure there.
Yeah, you almost use a phrase that I always use. You said, "Be brave enough to explore," and I use that sentence as, and we already spoken to that and in previous episodes that be brave enough to suck at something new.
Yeah.
And and this morning I used that sentence because I find myself in the activities of today, particularly, are aligned. The activities that I'm doing today, that I've done today, and I'm doing today, are very aligned to something that I created a long, long time ago. That is when I started this midlife revolution, as you said. I put it out there that I just want to have to do activities which are where the self-expression is out there, right? And so this morning I have a fitting session of clothing for a photo shoot. I'm having the podcast, and at night I have my drama acting class. And I'm not a model, I'm not a podcaster, and I'm not an actor. But I'm doing these three activities today, very related to my creation that was to be self-expressed. Am I good at any of those things? Who cares? I don't know. I don't know if I'm good or not good. It's not the point. The point is following what you created and what you discover from yourself. And that's exactly what I discovered. I wanted that. And suddenly all of those opportunities got created. And did I contribute to the creation? A little bit. But I tell you, for those three things that I'm doing, there's also the things that came out of nowhere. And especially this podcast, there's a story about how it got created, and it was very random actually,
Mm.
and then it happened. So now I find myself on a day doing three things that are very aligned to my possibility of life that I created when I had my midlife revolution. There is to have more things about self-expression.
Mm.
And then I'm signing a contract to be a flight attendant. That's very self-expressed job. And yeah, and I was gonna say also, Lloyd, is that indeed podcast that your way of transformation, my way, I slightly different, and this is a good way of showing up as well that I done things more drastically because I was in the different times of my life. My kids are older and I have a little bit of more room to do that. You're
Yeah.
doing these things in a different way, which is slowly or mixing up situation, which is also another way. There's no one way of doing this. What is interesting here is actually be conscious
Hmm.
of what you're pursuing, what fills you up, what makes you happy,
Hmm.
and and follow that and do. And you're not going to be amazing, but nobody's amazing. Who is amazing? Um, we are all amazing, and we are not amazing. We are all everything. It doesn't really matter. What it matters, what's in here, what's in your heart,
Yeah,
And
and maybe just, disconnecting from that concept that success is equal to being good at something, right? Maybe
yeah,
it doesn't need to be that you're good at something, that it's more around the idea that you're actually brave enough to try something a little outside the box and take a risk and take a gamble. Um,
what is success in general? Because I remember that speech from Jim Carrey on the Golden Awards that says, um, I, I'm 2 times Golden Globe Award winner Jim Carrey, and all I do when I go to bed is to think about being a third award winner, and then I will be then it will be it.
mm,
And so when does it stop? When are you successful? And how many? I don't know. It doesn't end. Doesn't exist.
mm,
Recognition and all of that is also very how you said volatile.
mm,
And it's the same, you participate in football team and you're amazing team, and one season you lift the cup, you're the best team in the world, and next season you start from scratch and you're not successful anymore. You need to demonstrate it again, and it never ends. So it's a very tricky word.
mm,
And and yeah, and sometimes we get caught on that wheel of expectations and fantasy. All right,
mhm.
does it sort of make sense, Lloyd, to you? Or
Yeah, it makes sense to me. It comes back to, for me, what I was talking about before, reading this book by John C. Maxwell around the habits of successful people, and how he mentioned that, success is not necessarily outcome or destination. It's more a measure of the process, the journey, and that we can commit to every day just becoming a little bit better than the day before, right? But not in terms of our bank balance or, you know, all those things. It's more about, a pursuit of something bigger, something more outside of you, and not necessarily more of those superficial things like, material possessions and status and all those things. And maybe that's important for some people, and that is their sense of purpose.
Mm,
Certainly not. I'm not judging those that decide that want to live their life like that. Um, I'm simply saying that success for me means something different than it did 10 years ago. And what it looks like now is certainly not about any of that. It's more about, um, like you said, daring to being brave enough to suck at something new, and enjoying that process of learning and growth and exploration. And um, it's not always an easy process, um, but I think it's a very rewarding one. That sense, that the sense of feeling alive, feeling very alive and true to yourself.
mm,
And if life is only one, right? So why not take the opportunity to explore some of those things? Um, and maybe you're already doing them. Maybe you're already living a purpose, a driven life, and you feel very fulfilled. And you're also very financially stable. And but I believe it's in that order. It's in purpose first, and then the financial thing will take care of itself. I really believe that. I really believe that once you're aligned to a sense of purpose and a sense of fulfillment, and really it lights you up in your heart, then the money and the lifestyle will come as a result of that, but that's not the intention from the beginning. The intention from the beginning is, what is it that really brings me joy, and do I want to do this? And this is something that I'm trying to teach my kids, particularly my eldest, Ollie, my son, who's 12, and potentially starting to think about that and starting to get some very funny ideas about what success is, you know?
Mm.
Uh, and and what no one told me when I was growing up, I wanna tell him now that, first son is passion, and there's your potential, and trust that, whatever that looks like, contentment and financial stability and all that will come as a result of that. And like you said, Diego, this whole process for me, of letting go of the business of starting again or not starting again, whichever way you look at it, it's taught me to live with less. And when I
Mm.
look back to how I was living before and the level of excess, I'm like, wow, what was that for? It feels lighter, it feels freer, it feels like far more simple. And I'm really an advocate of that, like living with less, I think allows, and when I say less, I mean less clutter, less things in your life that maybe you just don't need. The boat, the, the all that, the caravan, the list goes on with all the things that all the shit that we can fill our lives up with, right? That really, at the end of the day, don't really mean a lot. But what it leaves space for, letting go of that stuff, is more time to really connect to what lights you up on the inside, not necessarily those short-term dopamine hits of bringing in the next, bigger paycheck, or getting the promotion, or and don't get me wrong, I mean, those things are all good too. Yeah. I mean, we should, if we work hard and we love what we do and we're getting recognition for that, great. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's you. That's just something that you do. And who do you want to be? How do you want to show up in this world? How do you want
Mhm.
others to see you? Those are some of the things that, you should start asking yourself if you're wondering about what's next, and is there more? Yeah.
When you were talking about success again, there's a question that came up to me on a concept. What if everybody that is in this world as a human and like we are we extremely successful already just to be alive and to make it to a person? You know how successful you need to be? You need how successful you need to be to actually uh, be born, be a product of life and be healthy or whatever, but we have no idea how the amount of success that is on that.
Yeah.
It's it's almost a miracle.
Yeah.
And this is a bit more spiritual, a little bit more like fluffy, but it's not. We take it for granted, all of that.
Mm.
And then when you're living, we want to be successful. Like, for what is it? What do you want to add?
Mhm.
The miracle that you are
Mm.
already. And and sometimes we don't want that miracle to do anything, and we want to destroy that miracle that we are because I don't know what we are pursuing. So that thought when we were sharing, it just came to me, and it's a good reality check as well. Like, what are we looking for? Well, what is it?
Yeah,
Uh,
no,
we're
most of
already extremely successful.
yeah, and the difference between success and not being successful is a very fine line, right? You know, a lot of things have to conspire for you to even have graced this planet. You know, like you said, to be born, so many factors had to come into alignment. So that in itself is could be measured as success. I made it onto this earth and I've made it 44 years.
Yeah, how many sperms did not make it?
And how many, yeah. And and maybe as well, like you've been maybe there might be a listener that's been on this path for a while now and is toiling away at their purpose, at their passion, and maybe they've been doing it for years and still trying to, um, I guess, or maybe, like the crossing of the line into success or having realized this vision is they're so close. They could be so close, but they feel like they're so far away, like it's always good to, I think, remember that we don't really have all that much control. All we, I think all we really have control over is just taking that committed action, We have a vision, we have an idea, but what's going to get us there is just regular action, right?
Yeah,
And
what you do today?
what did you do today to do that? And what went well and what didn't go well? And you might be thinking like some days I think that, like I might get home from a day of washing dishes at the Curry Club and think, shit, what am I doing? And I'm still in the back of my mind thinking like, well, I need to get this many clients and this and that to like my vision is not there yet. I'm so far away. But how do I really know that? It's not really about that. It's more about the process of, well, maybe something's not working. I'll try something else, and then you go through that round and round and keep coming back to that sense of, well, what's really important here, because you're still going, I think you're going to have days that you're just like, oh, screw the vision. I'm just going to go back to a regular 9 to 5. But no, unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. Once you're on the path, you're on the path and you're committed. Just keep going.
Yeah, and enjoy what's happening.
Mm.
What there's a lot about what's happening right now that you can enjoy. And yeah, just even if it is not pleasant, why it's not pleasant? Why what's happening today is not pleasant? And then ask that question and then learn from that. And then you're succeeding on answering a question. So your day is successful. You answer the question, what's not right? What's happening to me that I'm not happy about this? Or and immediately you looking just up to answer that question, there's a success. You found something.
Mm.
Why these things bother me? Okay. Oh, how does it feel? Oh, okay, cool. I work on it. That's a success. Or nothing to do. Okay, call a friend and ask the friend how you doing, and you get a successful conversation for sure. Or hug a loved one. That's success. Um, I don't know. There's
Mm.
so many things that we can do in the day. Or I relate it as well with the volunteering aspect of life. When you volunteer, is magical. If you
Mm.
spend some time on a volunteer job, it's so fulfilling. If you have the chance, it's so fulfilling. I did a little bit last year, and it was very fulfilling. I um it's a different way of looking at life, and so all of those are little contributors to success, to feel, to fill you up with joy, with, with relationship with other people, with life. So when you start, breaking down success into little things, and you can actually enjoy that as a part of your success. You're successful. And you are successful. We are all successful. That's not, we can make it. We can say we are all successful. There's no unsuccessful situation. We're all learning. That's a success. We all through life. We all making it to the next day. You made it yesterday. That's a success. You're breathing. That's a success.
Beautiful.
And I'm not using this as a, or just to get away with success. No, it's true. It's very true. That is a very successful thing that we made it to the next day, and that we're breathing and we're healthy, and we can tell someone I love you, or I was thinking of you, or I know we were focusing on work and income and all of that, but this is also another,
Bigger than that.
and yeah, another angle of success, right?
And what happens when you take a bigger angle, when you zoom out and you stop seeing it as money and income and status and all that? What happens, do you think, what changes in life, in your experience of life? Do you
Well,
think?
is that it expands who you are, because you're not a worker. We are, we are far bigger than a worker. We have different roles in life. And even if you don't have kids, or if you don't have a partner, or if you're on your own, you're part of society. You're part of a big picture.
Mm,
And if I go very spiritual, we are all of us. We are all the universe, and we are all God. So,
wow.
but I don't want to go there.
That's a
But yeah,
big topic. Yeah.
yeah, but we are, yeah, um, we are more than a worker,
Mm,
or someone that looks good in a monthly or employee of the month picture,
mm,
or getting an award. Awards are nice, but they're volatile, the moments.
mm,
And I think for me, the best award, and I always imagine it, is that the day, hopefully, I get some notice when I'm gonna die. But if I don't get noticed, maybe not. But is to look back and say, I'm happy with what I've done, or who I was, maybe.
mm,
Because this midlife transformation, midlife revolution that you call, um, it started from the idea that I couldn't answer that question. I couldn't actually say that. I couldn't, if I died the next day, I couldn't say I'm happy to who I am,
wow.
or I'm happy with. So I had to do something about it.
Did you?
Well, yeah, yeah, definitely. But all I'm doing is that. It's like I just,
What's the alternative if you didn't? If you didn't?
well, I will die anyway. But I will say, well, I didn't
Well,
do.
I mean, what changes if nothing, or if nothing changes? I mean, if you get that wake up call if you get that piece of news that, you've just done that exercise. You've asked yourself that question. If you don't act on that, I mean, what does that look like? You just carry on.
I carry on, and it's dull. It doesn't. Nothing happens. It's
But in the back of your mind, you'll know
and
you.
and there was suffering as well. There was a little bit of suffering. There was some sense of not living purpose. There was some pain. There was body pain as well, and there was fears, and also there was an inspiration. But leave all of that alone. Is that if one day I'm about to die, I wasn't happy with that.
Mm,
I will die anyway, but I wasn't happy with who I was.
mm,
Is it important? Maybe not. Maybe it's not that important, but I made it important. I made it that if I die, I want to be happy to who I was in the world.
and
Uh,
what does happiness look like to you in
I
that?
mean, I want to be at peace of mind. I want to not have conflicts. I want to be the best version of myself with all my, what I, I've been the best version of myself, or I actually pointed out to my best version, and I did the best, but the best I could, but at least I tried. All right,
Right. So
try to be the best version of myself.
it's not necessarily about arriving at that best person.
No, no, it's just that you pointed out to that, and that's how you live your life. And the best version is not about achievements or anything. It's about your authenticity and yourself, the best version of yourself, which is getting to the raw you, to who you are, finding who you are. And once you find who you are, you're not the best version. You are who you are. And if you ever reach that, there is a lot of rewards on that.
Mm. But why aren't we all doing this exercise? Sounds nice.
We are very unconscious, Lloyd, that we are following rules that don't belong to us. They don't belong to us. There are agreements in society and things, but those rules do not belong to us. We didn't sign up for those rules. We've been given rules and we accommodate them, and then we interpret them the way we want, and sometimes to our convenience. But also, yeah, there are other ways. But yeah, I really find that one of the main and the more successful sensations are when you start working on understanding who you are. And that's a road for inner peace and be more aligned to life. Not trying to be someone that you are not, or pretending to be someone that you're not.
Yeah, but before you arrive to inner peace, I think that's a journey in itself, right? I mean, it's like, well, for me, in my experience, when I stopped and pulled back the curtain, I didn't like everything that I could see there.
No, and it's very, very difficult to see it.
So I think there was a part of me maybe at that stage that went, no, 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 no. I don't think I want to go here. How do you move past that? Because beyond there, I think, yeah, there is, I mean, if inner peace is or contentment is an experience that you want to have more of, taking those first few steps and getting to know you for the first time, maybe. And for me, it was really the first time in 40 years, 40 years on this planet that I was really starting to pull back the curtain, and then I didn't like what I was seeing, and I was almost like, I think I want to turn around. Thanks. I think I don't want to get on this ride. Thanks. I don't really like what I'm seeing here. Thanks.
Hmm.
But I stay.
What made you stay?
Uh, what made me stay was I had several things, but I had support. I wasn't doing it alone. So I was going through a process with a coach at the time. And I'm very grateful for that because I don't know if I would have, first of all, been able to understand or interpret what was happening to me on my own. So having someone there alongside me was incredibly valuable. Um, but I think above all that, it's funny actually, because I look at the clock now and the clock says 1:11.
Beautiful.
And that's a funny backstory because at the time when I was going through this period of reflection and trying to become more conscious and a little less unconscious, having all those existential questions, doing the work, doing the self work and all that, um, I kept asking myself, what am I doing? Where am I? Where am I going with all this? And it was so weird because I kept seeing this number all the time. Everywhere I would go, I would see the numbers 111. And I just saw it then when I looked at my clock. And it was really bizarre because I tell you, no lie, like I kept seeing these numbers over and over and over again all throughout the day. And then I like did some research on it. I was like, what's all these? Why do I keep seeing these numbers? It's really bizarre. And I researched it, and it had some significance, like a spiritual significance. It basically affirmed to me that I was on the right path, and it was sort of a way of the universe, I guess, speaking to me and reminding me that whilst it was a difficult process, yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's either 111 or it's 1111, just like that. And I would see these numbers all the time. And so yeah, on those moments of incredible self-doubt or like self-loathing, like, oh my God, I've just deep dived into something on myself and done some personal reflection work and discovered something I didn't really want to see or I wanted to let go of, like the ugly parts of ourselves, yeah, that we don't like so much, that come with the process, when you start to become a bit more conscious and a bit more aware. It's kind of like, ah, there we go. Got to see that. I don't want to see that, but I got to move through that. And these numbers just kept popping up and helping me and reminding me that I was on the right path and to keep going. So yeah, there was that. There was the support of another person, someone who knew, had been through that process themselves, and had the skills to support me through that process. And then I think just trusting in the process, it sort of like um, the momentum took over it. It took a life of its own. I started to not only see the darker shades of me, but also the really beautiful ones too, and things that I never knew about myself that were possible. And I started to interact with the world in a different way. I started to interact with people in a different way. My relationships started to take on new meaning. Um, my relationship with nature started things just started to, it's almost like a vision shift.
Hmm.
And I think that was very encouraging as well. So whilst there were a lot of moments of like difficult ones, it was also a really beautiful and you know curious stage. There was a lot of curiosity that sort of took over as well. Well, if I have this potential, what else is possible? So it's kind of like, yeah, accepting, going through the process of accepting all the darker shades, and then also celebrating what else you're learning. Because once we start to become a bit more conscious, I think there's so much more to us as individuals that we just don't really understand because we're too busy living unconsciously or asleep,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
asleep to ourselves and to asleep to a lot of other parts because we're like you say, we're sort of sold into these rules that this is our role and these are the parameters and these are the rules of engagement for life and you follow these rules and you go that way. And I spent 40 years doing that. And then I just, not overnight, but slowly realized that there was more.
I spent 52, which is
And then realizing in that there's also a lesson. I spent 40 years to get to this place, and I can't expect that process to be an easy one overnight. So if there is a listener out there that's going, well, I want to experience that the quickest way possible, it doesn't really work like that, I don't think. I may need to spend the next 40 years on that journey, but again, like what a journey to be on. I'd rather be on that journey than the one that led me in the first 40 years.
yes, and there is also a sense, I mentioned 52, 40, and it has no meaning that it doesn't really matter how much time, and time doesn't work like that when you start figuring out things. The time that you needed to start your transformation is the time that you needed. It doesn't mean anything.
Mm,
If you find your path at 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, even before the day before you die, it doesn't really matter. It's all what it needs to happen.
mm,
And 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 yeah, and that's another discovery that I found is like because the first wow moment that I had, and I said, oh, the first thing that came to mind is like, oh, I wish I knew that like 30 years ago. Oh, I wish I was this way, like with this person. Oh, I wish I was kinder to this friend.
mm,
But this, that's nonsense. I needed to be unkind. I needed to be all of that just to learn.
mhm, mhm,
That's the road.
mhm,
That's part of everything. So I stopped bashing myself about, what I could have been, and start enjoying what I am, and keep and keep the work. And maybe in 10 years, I said, oh, look who I was, and 55. But it doesn't really matter. It's not a calendar thing. It doesn't follow calendars.
mm,
There are moments, and I tell you something. One amazing wow moment in your life can actually erase all your past straight away.
mm.
or or actually,
Maybe
you
not erase them, but make them
or
a little
yeah,
bit insignificant.
or make it insignificant, or look at them as in a friendly way,
Mm,
and being grateful for your past.
mm,
It got you here,
yeah.
and so there are, even though when you said that we just before the behind the curtains, there's a lot of things that you need to see that they might not be nice. After that, there is this beauty as well. So
Mhm.
yeah, I would recommend that if the time is right for you.
The time is right for you, yeah. And if it isn't, also I would say, stay curious, stay
Yeah,
stay open and one thing that really helped me along my journey was to in the spirit of curiosity and learning was to read books about the subject. I've read a lot of really good books, and I attribute those a lot of what I learned in those books to helping me along the way. If there was one book that I would recommend to listeners that are
Mm.
enjoying this conversation today and interested in learning more, and specifically in the context of man and masculinity, then I would recommend a book by David Dida,
Okay,
The Way of the Superior Man. Um,
I'm gonna write it
I'll
down.
put it in the show notes,
Okay,
so
cool.
people can reference that later, as well as John C. Maxwell's Three Things Successful People Do. I'll include those all in the notes. But yeah, David Dida was a profound book for me, really discussing the roles of of masculinity and femininity in history, but also in today's world, and how things have, moved and shaped. But also, he really addresses man's search for purpose and man's search for meaning, and what that can look like in a modern sense. And really help me just reframe a lot of these old conditioned ideas that I had learned that no longer served me, and I started to understand and see things a lot differently.
Mm.
And also another thing that I got a huge amount of benefit from was my relationship with women, and specifically my wife, and how what how best I can serve myself and serve my relationship with my wife, in a way that honors me as a man, um, but also allows for some of those more like tender and softer moments, and made me understand in a very unique way what it is that women really want from us.
What a promising episode is coming about now.
Yeah, so listeners, go and do your homework. Your homework is to go and read a few chapters of David Dita's The Way of the Superior Man, and then with the next episode, we'll dive into it in more detail.
Mm. One
Oh,
of
we are
one
just
one of the last thing, Lloyd, that I would like to say about checking in with yourself, like how I mean, the time for doing this work can come at any time, but one of the big things for me was to be aware of the level of internal suffering that I had, and how much tolerance I have for that. So for a long, long time, I carried suffering because it was more convenient not to look at that to what I was doing.
Mhm.
But it got to a point that my suffering or my level of insatisfaction got much bigger than the benefits of not looking at them.
Mm,
So when my level of insatisfaction got unbearable, I was obliged to look at it. And for a long time, I knew that I wasn't happy, and I knew that it wasn't that my life could have been better. But it was more convenient not to look at it. And transactional wise, it was better to keep going than to look at it.
mm.
But it got a point where my level of suffering and insatisfaction was so much bigger than my convenience of not looking at it, that I
Nice.
had to, that I had to do something about it.
Yeah, amazing.
But yeah, so um, it doesn't matter where you are at. It's not like you need to be at some point, but I'm just sort of commenting on my experience on that.
Yeah, and maybe just ex assessing where you're at, and maybe you are having some of those feelings. I know I was. Certainly resonated a lot with what you were saying. I just didn't want to carry on in that space. So taking the plunge, taking the risk, crossing the threshold, and all the uncertainty and self-doubt that went with that far outweighed the sacrifice of continuing to live a life that no longer was aligned with me.
Yes.
And I didn't feel it was serving me anymore. And I think that there are, if I can just say, I think there are a lot of men out there that feel like that. I know that they are out there, and if anyone is listening that resonates with that, then I would just say, you're not alone, and that there are two blokes here that get it. We understand it, and we're here for you as well. If you want to reach out, we can start having those conversations, and it often can look like that, just having conversations, around what it is that you're experiencing. And that one question, I might just leave as a way to kind of finish the episode to any men out there, or women for that matter too. What if money, like when I say money, your bank balance and your bills and all that, if money and time wasn't an issue, what would you be doing differently in your life right now? If time and money weren't an issue, what would change? What would you be doing more of? Maybe not necessarily, throwing in your career overnight, but what might you start exploring if time wasn't an issue and money wasn't an issue? So,
Wow, I'm very happy on that question that you put up there, because my answer came very quickly.
oh, you got an answer already? Okay, gold star
Yeah.
for you, Diego. Tell us.
It's a cocky one, exactly what I'm doing.
Oh, I wouldn't call that cocky. I think that's nice. Yeah.
But yeah, I am exactly what I'm doing. At some point I always said that I declare myself millionaire, because if you add $5 million to my bank account, we'll be doing the same thing. So I'm a millionaire.
Brilliant. Well, we've
Yeah.
covered some ground again today. It's been a privilege and a pleasure as always talking to you, Diego, and I can't wait to sit down and go through this podcast later and listen back and get it ready for
Release.
release. And episode 7, the journey continues.
Yeah, and I think that this chat also brought up a couple of other topics that we can touch in the future.
Absolutely.
Cool, Lloyd. Thank you,
Thank you
man.
so much. Go well, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah, see you, Lloyd. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to What No One Told Us. If anything in today's episode landed with you, stirred something, or made you feel seen, we are glad you're here. Lloyd and Diego are always open to connecting, and you'll find links to reach out, follow along, or learn more in the show notes. If you are enjoying the podcast, make sure you hit subscribe on Spotify and follow us on Instagram and Facebook to stay connected between episodes. Until next time, take care of yourself and each other.